Hey everyone, my name is NSB and I am here with a new video series called Rally to Me. In this new series, we will be taking a look at one CGL map from the perspective of a high tier player. In our first episode, we will be taking a look at Vobendo. He is on the squad of Flying Gorillas from Xbox NA Tier 6. And this first map is going to be King's Row. We're going to look at his Ashe gameplay and see how he outsnipes the other players, outdamages the other players, and applies these certain tips and tricks to his gameplay that you can do as well, so you might improve. Starting off on King's Row yet again, we have the Flying Gorillas in the red and Vobendo on the Ashe. We're going to look at a few different tips and tricks throughout the entire series. And that is going to be displacing the enemy team, using dynamite, and putting a lot of pressure onto the enemy tanks. He's also going to be 1v1ing the enemy DPS whenever he needs to. He's going to take those challenges and do it confidently. And he's also going to use Bob to give his team value instead of looking for the crazy play of the game type moments. And as they walk out on the attack, you'll also know that he has this Mercy Pocket from Ryan Guy. He's going to be utilizing that extra damage to apply some early dynamites, and you can see he goes for the off angle here, lands the dynamite, and already his team is walking forward onto the objective. Definitely very good work in this first fight as he cleans up 3 kills. And these early dynamites putting pressure on the enemy tank is going to be very useful, because you can see that the squad of Shattern is running the Zen Mercy support line as well, but they're doing it with the double shield, so that makes the tanks very vulnerable to the early damage of dynamite. He's just going to be rotating around again, looking for maybe an early pick, maybe an early dynamite. Loses the Ashe duel here to a nice headshot from Huge 2. But gets the res, again moves around to a different angle. You're going to see a lot of repositioning, and he wants to get value out of every position he's in. Lands the dynamite here. He's going to be content with that 1 kill. Already the enemy team is running away yet again from another fight. And you're going to see how he stays on the payload while the enemy team is respawning. He knows that they're all the way back at point C by now, so he can push the payload instead of repositioning. And now, as the enemy team does walk back, he gets this high ground, looks for the dynamite yet again. He's going to drop in an early Bob just as a bit of a sacrifice. It looks like Bob is going to be bursted down pretty quickly, but it gives him a bit of space. It gives his team some space. They do cap the objective here, so that's quite nice. Not a very decisive fight, but he does walk away with a kill onto the Orisa. Now again, he's just going to look for maybe an early pick onto a DPS, maybe an early dynamite onto the tanks. Sort of chucks that one in. And he sees the enemy Ashe here on this high ground, and throughout all of point C, he wants to displace those enemies from that high ground. He lands the headshot and the dynamite here, which is really great. So much damage onto the enemy. They walk away with a kill onto the Orisa yet again. He's going to challenge those DPS off the high ground again, so really great work during this fight. He does get fluxed, so a bit of damage there. And that does give Shattern some time to stall, but the Flying Gorillas still doing good work. They lose a few members. He's going to take this Widow duel. Does get headshot there, but that's fine because they have nearly 5 minutes before they actually reset. And he'll be respawning with the Bob. You can see they do get another early kill. So he's going to use this coach gun because the cooldown will be there by the time he gets back to his team. That pick is traded back, so a bit unfortunate there. They lose their advantage going into this fight. Finds the early dynamite, and you can look at those health bars just being chunked down from the enemy tanks, forcing out a lot of the support resources early in the fight. So another nice start. Takes a bit of damage from that pull, but he's got his Mercy Pocket completely fine. Again, just sort of sacrifices Bob here. It actually opens up enough space for the Flux to come through and gets a kill. So very nice there. And now Shattern, they're forced into a corner. Flying Gorillas have enough picks to probably walk this one in. Looks like they're just going to go for the cleanup, but overall, a very clean round. They do walk it in with 3.5 minutes on the board. A great start for the Flying Gorillas, a great start for Vobendo on the Ashe. Now they're going to move to the defense. And on this defense, again, we're going to look for these early dynamites, as he's been landing. I think every dynamite has just been really huge, but even if a few miss, it's completely fine because he's doing a lot right now on the Ashe. Definitely getting high value so far in the series. And as they spawn in, his team is going to be walking out on the Sigma Ball, on the rock and roll, as coined by some of my fellow CGL casters. Definitely a very strong comp, even on maps that favor the double shield or maybe the brawl. It's viable nearly everywhere. His squad's definitely very good at it. And as they're gearing up to start here, something to note is that he's going to always go for these early dynamites on the defense. And a quick tip, when you line up a long-range projectile like the dynamite or on a grenade, for example, your ultimate meter is going to be a good place to judge where it's going to land. You saw he aimed it so the ultimate meter was level with the ground, and it lands right in front of the spawn door. Got some early damage on the shield. And now you're going to see as the enemy squad, they have rolled out on the rock and roll as well. He's going to shift his eyes towards this Hammond a lot because he wants to keep his Zenyatta alive. Q2, his Zenyatta, is definitely one of the better support players in the league at the moment. So those discords are going to be high value, and you need your Zen to be alive all the time. So he's going to focus that Wrecking Ball a lot. Looks for maybe an early kill on the Ashe, as Ikodu is currently still running back to the fight. A nice bit of coordination there with Sistov, his own Wrecking Ball, to get that pick. And again, the callouts are there. He looks towards that ball, but doesn't find any early shots quite yet. Again, he's going to roll through, but this time his Sigma does fall, so he's going to try and retreat here. Gets booped in. Unlucky there with the coach gun. Does get the res, but this is going to be a reset. And as his team sort of stall onto the objective, looks like they're going to give this one up. I don't see them contesting here because they can definitely hold the choke at the start of point B. Looks like his team is going to roll through and do a bit of contesting, but the enemy, they're using some ults, so it's probably game over by now. Flux comes through. He's going to try and challenge this Sigma, but just gets rocked and demolished. That defense is over on point A. They did get a lot of time off the bank, though. They will all be respawning near the end of C, so it's definitely a long walk back here for Vobendo and crew. And again, you're going to have to note that he's not necessarily getting as much value out of Dynamite now. He's just looking to try and kill off this ball for the majority of the round. He's been doing that in the past few fights. Goes for some early hits yet again onto that Wrecking Ball. So with the enemy comp, he's sort of forced to give up that value that he was getting early from his Dynamite. You can see that Bob, it looks like he just throws it into the backline, but it's in a position where Worth Shatter can now get value out of the Molten Core. because you're either standing in lava or you're falling back into a giant robot who's going to gun you down. So they do get the pick onto the Wrecking Ball, who's trapped between the two. And they do get another exit kill onto Shattering's Ashe. So definitely high value from the Bob, even though it didn't get any kills. It's in a position where his team is going to take advantage of it. Now as this one begins, again, just checking around, looking for that Wrecking Ball, sees him, Coach guns him away. He's going to clear out the mines so his tanks can maybe retreat during this fight, but it looks like they just get pulled over. And now it's just going to be a game of chase. He's going to move up onto this high ground to maybe take advantage of the ball because he knows that rotation's coming through. He's not really in a great spot here. His tanks are getting kills though. They've got the minefield on point. He drops in the Bob yet again. It was a fast charge, and this fight is super scrappy, so that Bob will definitely get some value. But he does drop off that high ground and does die, so definitely not what you wanted there. Looks like his team are going to have to retreat as that respawn advantage is coming through for the attack. The reinforcements aren't really there for the rest of his squad. But he does make his way back. They are going to try and hold at the corner. The flux comes through, but it's rocked. He's going to try and peel for this for his Zenyatta, but doesn't work out too well, and his Zen does die. It's really tough to land those headshots onto the Tracer. But the res is there, so his team are back in this fight. Looking for the early dynamite there as the ball moves up to the high ground, so he has a bit of time to try and get that early damage. Now he's going to just try and chunk down these tanks again. Takes a big shot, but finds an angle yet again. These mines are going to be tough to deal with, so he's sort of stuck in a corner. As now his ball comes through, so there's not much space. But it looks like the space is there. Nexus does get a double with the pulse bomb, and Vobendo just falls to the cleanup rock. They do lose out on objective B, but so far they've got a relatively good time bank. Cut it down to a minute, so that's fine. Here on C, it looks like the enemy already have the high ground, so he's not going to challenge it yet. Looks for the dynamite, though. And that's a really nice pick. The Ashe got separated. Now he's going to put in the Bob, and you can see how it's a bit of a pincer here. The enemy, they try and fall back, but they're running straight into a Bob yet again. Bob does get booped after getting it killed, but his tanks, they had the space. They get to move forward, and they do clean up the fight. He's going to have to do double duty on challenging the flankers, as the Tracer and the Ball will both be working together to kill his Zenyatta. Find some early shots. And when the enemy, they have these flank tanks, you definitely want to deal with them. It's all about chunking down the enemy tanks, whether it's a Ball, whether it's an Orisa. Gets a nice shot there. Enemy Zenyatta down. Ball lands up on the high ground, and he's going to have to retreat. But it looks like he's found an off angle. Tries to clean up that Mercy, but has to coach gun away. Runs into an Ashe on the high ground and gets the pick, but is cleaned up in the process. About a minute on the board, and he's coming back with the Bob. He's most likely just going to chuck this one into the back lines yet again. Looks like he drops it out, but the Transcendence is there, so not much damage to be dealt. Trying to find some shots, but his team is unable to stay on that objective. Transcendence just a bit too much for them to handle. And it looks like they do lose out that third objective, but overall, another really nice round. He was dealing with that Hammond quite well, dealing with the Tracer, not letting his Zenyatta die, and that's really good. And as this next round settles out, I imagine we'll still see the rock and roll comps from either side, but with this big time bank compared to a very small one, the Flying Gorillas are going to defend again. And now with the Hog and the Junkrats, Vobendo is probably going to be less focused on dealing damage to the tanks. It depends on if Shatter and roll out with this rock and roll comp that they're currently hovering, but he's got a Junkrat on his squad, so he might be more focused with trying to deal with the enemy Ashe or maybe the McCree.
Just point me in the right direction.
Either way, there's going to be a lot of damage going into the enemy front lines, so Vobendo is definitely going to have an easier task this round. Again, he's leveling out his dynamite with his ultimate meter, looking for the early damage. This one again lands into a shield, but that's fine. He does early damage. And now he's forced off his high ground. Enemy Ashe is pressuring him. He's got a ball on him, so he's gonna have to retreat down to his team. Just checking that flank angle, but nothing is there at the moment, so finds the kill on the Sigma. Looking to now maybe take his sights onto a 1v1 here. Get some shots on the McCree. His Junkrat is up there dealing with it, so now he can maybe move on. Gets the dynamite onto the back line, so that's very nice. Gets the kill onto the McCree, who's still trying to retreat. Nice bit of cleanup there, but he does get headshot, so a bit unlucky. Out in the open, just sort of gets cleaned up on. Overtime is active, and it looks like the Gorillas will probably try and contest this objective. They still have quite a few members left in this fight. And he's again just going to sort of sacrifice the Bob straight into the enemy. This one gets fluxed and dead-eyed, so a lot of damage into Bob. He's forcing out enemy ults here, which is what they want to do. It looks like 5 ults in total used from Shattered, so Flying Gorillas, they're going to walk away from this objective and try and stop it in overtime here. Vobendo not really in a spot he wants to be, so he's going to wrap around that statue and sort of feed himself away. Going to get the long spawn way back at point C here, so with that overtime respawn timer, he's going to have quite the walk back coming through. And he knows the enemy has Transcendence, so I imagine he's going to try and kill off this enemy Zenyatta and still protect his own Zenyatta to try and build up to another Transcendence. They've got the tire though, they've got the whole hog, they've got the flux, a lot of things in the bag. Looks like the tire gets 2. His Zenyatta does fall, so that's pretty tough, but the res is there. And now his team has enough picks to where he can just walk at the enemy. He's completely fine just going all the way in, going deep here. Gets 2. And that is the round. Definitely they would have wanted to settle for a full hold, but they are still confident in their ability to win this map, I assume. They've got 4 minutes on the clock. All they have to do is cap one objective and then win a fight after that, so completely fine here from both sides. They're most likely going to stack up an ultimate fight for point A and stack up another for point B. All you need to do is win those 2 fights and you're golden. They've got 4 minutes to stack up 6 ults for those 2 fights. And they're rolling out on the Hog yet again. They've got a Hanzo as well, probably expecting the double shield from the enemy because they do have a lot of damage in this composition, a lot of shield break coming through. The enemy, though, Shatterin is going to be rolling out on the rock and roll again. That's completely fine. Can still do a lot of damage. They're just going to wait out this dynamite from the enemy. Don't want to be taking damage early for sure. Now he's got a lot of this frontline damage in the form of his Hanzo. So he takes the 1v1 duel, wins it. However, his Hog gets rolled through. He's called back to help his team because there's a few flankers on him. But his tanks die in the process. Looking for maybe a shot here at the end because he's sort of safe in this position. Playing around or behind the choke, completely fine for him. He knows that the enemy team do have to sacrifice themselves if they want to get a pick beyond that spot. Again, taking this duel with the Ashe lands the headshot, but unfortunately it's too far away for it to get full damage and get the full kill. The res is there. Cleanup is there. In the back lines, again, trying to peel for his Zenyatta. Still trying to displace those tanks. He knows Sig is respawning, so again, he can challenge the 1v1 duel. His team can take care of the ball, but looks like he does get the final blow. The Guerrillas cap the objective with 2.5, so they've got time. They've got space to make this one work. And they've got a lot of ults in the bank as well. Again, he's just gonna walk back and give the payload a bit of pushing. Doesn't need to go on the high ground quite yet, but they have sent a few members up forward, so he's going to help them out. Trying to chunk down that enemy wrecking ball. Here's a Tracer in the back lines. Trying to spot that out because he doesn't want his Zen to die. His Zen has Transcendence and he uses it perfectly. Getting rid of that Granitic Flux. He knocks Bob away, but he knows that Bob is still going to get a few kills there. His team does die. Trying to get out, but forced to reset there. The Tracer gets the kill.
Nothing wrong with a little self-improvement.
Now he's got Bob ready to roll. Walking forward into a potential final fight. They probably still have overtime if they can't clean up this one. And he's just going to throw Bob in, looking for space because his team, they only have one corner left to push. And when Bob is sitting on that corner, there's no way the enemy can touch. That's exactly what happens. And they do finish it off. A great map overall, a great performance from Vobendo, a great performance from his entire team. I definitely enjoyed watching this one, and if you guys enjoyed the video, make sure to drop the like, make sure to hit subscribe because Rally to Me, this series is just starting. We will be continuing these vids all throughout the CGL season. We're going to keep it going through the playoffs as well. And you definitely want to tune in to more of those matches. Again, make sure to hit the like button, make sure to subscribe, and I will see you guys later.